Hello and welcome back to the Bottom Bins. Once again, more Premier League action to cover this weekend. Just going to jump straight into the episode, boys. Going to go to the first game of the game week, Nottingham Forest against Newcastle United. Newcastle coming out victors in that game, 2-1. So, we'll open it up.
It was a harsh enough result for Forest. Played well. Obviously a late penalty. I expected the result to kind of go this way. I know I predicted on the Bottom Bins website a draw, but I did expect a lot of pressure from Newcastle's side. And Nottingham Forest, they were always going to be pushed back. I know they've got a good home record this season, but they're always going to be pushed back by a side that's challenging for the top four. And look, we've kind of written off Newcastle in the past few weeks, but they're right back into that equation for Champions League qualification. And as long as they can keep their £70 million man, Isaac, fit, it looks like they really, really could get it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the main thing, is you've just noted there, Oren. Obviously, they have played a lot of the season without Isaac, and I'd say when you spend 70 million on a striker, you would expect this guy to be fit and to be playing every week, and it just hasn't been the case for Newcastle so far this season. But definitely with Isaac up front, they actually do look a much better side, to be fair. Earlier in the season, I actually thought Wilson was playing some of his best football, really looked to be playing out of his skin, but as of the last few weeks, definitely you would have to say Isaac is the main man. He has to be the go-to up front. He's the guy that looks like he's going to convert the chances, and overall, the result against Wolves last week and then the result this week against Forest rightly puts them back into that conversation again for the top four. And Newcastle fans, I think, would be very excited to think that the possibility of Champions League football could be on the horizon this season for them.
Yeah, definitely. It was super finish in the first goal as well for Isaac.
Brilliant.
Unreal finish.
They'll have to be favourites for it now. Like, looking at the table, they're 2 points behind Tottenham with 2 games in hand on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, just looking at the table, which kind of surprised me, Newcastle are 3 points behind United, the same games played.
Yeah.
That's mad.
They play each other next.
With how bad we think Newcastle have been over the last couple of weeks, and then United's kind of faltered a wee bit recently. But even before that, the run United are on, I think that's mad. Like, I was just kind of thought at the minute the Premier League was like first and second, United, then everybody else, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's a lot closer there than I thought it was. Isaac's first finish was class, but we're going to have to talk about VAR again, because this game probably should have been done and dusted earlier, when Newcastle's second goal was disallowed because Felipe, despite sticking his leg out to clear a ball, was deemed to have not deliberately played it, which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Like, how can a defender stick his own leg out, direct the ball away from his goal, and not mean to deliberately play the ball? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And it's just the typical VAR looking for stuff now to disallow goals.
It was that young fella's first goal too.
Like, there wasn't a person in that ground, there wasn't a Forest fan, a Newcastle fan, even thought that there's no player screaming for offside, none of that. It was just VAR deciding to look for something and just come a completely idiotic decision. Like,
No, I fully agree.
Definitely.
Fully agree. But look, Nottingham Forest played well as well. Emmanuel Dennis's goal was absolutely phenomenal. Don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure
It's
you
a
did.
great finish.
Yeah.
Oh, the way dink over
over
Nick
the
Pope, it was
goalkeeper.
insane. And we knew that Emmanuel Dennis had that quality. But, like, I don't know, Nottingham Forest, you predicted them to go down, Dorman.
Yeah.
Like, do you still think they're
Yeah,
going
I
to go
think they
down?
will go down. I think their home form's good, but away from home they're brutal and they don't score goals.
Yeah.
But even this game they were 1-0 up. I know they did play a bit better, but I've seen some stat. It was like Newcastle had 31 touches in their box, and Forest had 6 touches in Newcastle's box. So it's just Newcastle, I think, deserved to win the game. And as you were saying, if they can keep Isaac injury free, scored a goal every 115 minutes.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's not his goal scoring.
No.
That's the problem. It's keeping him fit.
Yeah.
But I do think Forest have been unlucky too, because they got the 2 centre backs injured as well. So that is a killer.
Yeah.
But I think Nottingham Forest will go down, because all the teams around them are picking up points now. I think they're only 2 points outside the relegation zone. I know at home they are very difficult to beat, but I think it's a massive result for Newcastle too, because I think Champions League is in their hands again, and with Spurs dropping points as well,
And potentially losing their manager.
yeah. And with a bit of momentum going now for Newcastle, I think Willock's playing well as well, and that guy you're saying, he seems to be a good player. The way he came off the bench, Anderson,
Yeah,
he's
he's done really well. Since
he's came on. They are improving a lot. They're not really dependent on like Almiron as much now, and they seem to be a better all-round team. Like they're not keeping clean sheets, but they're still getting results now, which is a positive. They're scoring goals, so
That's
I
what
think
it is.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking when I was watching the game. Like, he took off Alan Maximin, who played alright in the first half, not what we'd expect from Alan Maximin. I know you, Connor, or Richie and Owen, you aren't a massive fan of St Maximin's work, but I think St Maximin is good. And I didn't expect him to be taken off at half time, but once that young fella Anderson came on, the game switched for Newcastle. Newcastle were in the game right from the very start. Anderson had a shot. I think it was his first touch. It was after like 46 minutes straight away in the second half. He had a shot, and it was blocked. But you could see the difference as soon as St Maximin come off as well. So I don't know if it's because it's obviously not an ability thing, because everybody knows whether you like him or don't. Alan St Maximin has the technical ability to be one of the best footballers in the world. He just doesn't have the work ethic.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also says a lot for Anthony Gordon as well. The fact that
Not even playing.
he's not getting minutes.
He's injured though.
But even at that, Connor, prior to him being injured, he wasn't seeing a lot of minutes.
No, I
like,
agree, yeah.
I think that's like I said it at the time on one of our transfer episodes. I think that's a bad bit of recruitment.
Yeah, it's awful.
I've never understood
50 million.
why teams were looking at Anthony Gordon.
No.
I have seen nothing from Anthony Gordon as Everton. Like, remember in the summer, Chelsea bid like 80 million or something stupid for him. Like,
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just never haven't seen it of him.
That guy Anderson showed more in that half probably than
Than Gordon has
Gordon's-
in the minutes he's played. Yeah,
Did you see what Gordon
100%.
said as well in his first interview as a Newcastle player?
No.
That like Everton disrespected him and all. He said, for all I've gave for Everton, I've been there since I was a young lad and they've disrespected me and all. Like, imagine coming out and saying that.
For all what did he do? Scored like 3 goals for them or something?
And they're all
And they were all deflected.
Egypt.
Oh, a terrible footballer, to be honest. Well, anyway, look, moving on from Newcastle, and we may as well go to Spurs next, the other side that are in that Champions League hunt. They completely capitulated at the weekend. Crazy, to be honest. And then we had the interview after the game with Antonio Conte, absolutely lambasting his players and lambasting the Tottenham Hotspur board. Spurs had an internal discussion there last night. Looks like Antonio Conte will not be the Tottenham Hotspur manager, maybe by the end of today, it seems. And already papers are lining up and talking about possible replacements. So really, for me personally, I didn't think he was going to be there past the summer anyway. I think Spurs will do better without Conte, to be honest. For me, this structure of appointing managers who, yes, have good track records at winning trophies, but that ultimately play a terrible brand of football, it's not the Tottenham Hotspur way. In the years where other clubs had maybe faltered, Spurs were always within sort of that title race, that top 3, and played very exciting brands of football under Maurizio Pochettino, of course, who is looking to be the lead runner at the minute to come back to Tottenham. But I think really the main thing to note with Spurs is just that the absolute capitulation in mentality. The fact that they were 3-1 up with, I think, was it 20 minutes to go or
less? It was like 15.
15, was it? Like to concede 2 and then to concede that late on 90 plus 3. Yes, and it was a penalty. I've seen the incident a couple of times. It was definitely a penalty. I don't understand how teams can play defensive football when their defence is so shocking.
Do you know what though? Like, you say it's crazy. It is crazy, but it's not surprising.
Well, look, obviously that's the style of football Conte plays, but the recruitment needed to be better.
No, sorry, I meant them.
Throwing it away.
Two goal lead away. Like, it wasn't surprising.
No, Southampton really pushed. Like, Fraser Forster made 2 really good saves. When it was 3-2, like there is a word where we could talk about this result as Southampton winning this game 4-3 because Spurs completely stopped. Like, after Perisic scored, there was no way Southampton should have got back in that game.
No,
and let it go in 3 minutes later, and just they were backs against the wall for the next 15 minutes. And Southampton got what they deserved in the end. Like, as you talk about Conte, a defensive-minded coach, shouldn't be conceding 3 goals in the game. There are made 3 goals to Southampton. Theo Walcott got a goal and assist. Like, Theo Walcott wrote, like, me and my dad were watching match today, and my dad seen Theo Walcott and goes, "There's another one of these English superstars that never done it." And then we was watching, it was like, Walcott actually played quite well today.
He's good.
But that was disgraceful from Spurs. And as you said, Conte, he doesn't want to be there. It's so clear. He wants to take a severance and he wants to go back to Italy. He'll probably end up in like a Juventus or something. where a job where he's quite happy back in Italy, and he'll probably win them a league title and then pitch it again because that's what he does. But he was never the right man for the Spurs job.
No, definitely not.
But see the points he made, some of them were actually right, but it was just the timing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think he just saw the international break. I'll just go in on these players.
Yeah.
But like Spurs weren't even that good. I didn't think they were that great, and they were 3-1 up, and then obviously they just completely collapsed against the Southampton team. That's like I think they're second bottom of the league. They're
Yeah.
struggling. You know, it should have been a 4-5-1 win. I don't know what happened. They brought on like that guy gave away the penalty.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was doing there, to be honest. But like he's right in some of his points. He is right. You
Well-
know, they haven't won anything in 20 years.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
right. But
the
as a
owner-
manager for football,
I know.
you
Can't
can't
say
say
it,
that.
like.
I know it is like he's just looking to escape basically. But
Yeah.
He's burning as many bridges as he can. Like.
yeah, that's true. But with Spurs, like I thought they were going to get top 4, but now I don't know.
Nobody wants it.
I know it's like the Liverpool, Spurs, and Newcastle. Yeah, they're almost fighting it out to
Yeah.
see who doesn't want it the most. Sort
It's
of.
like pass the parcel. Like.
Yeah.
But you know what? We can't take away credit from
Yeah.
Southampton.
No full credit to Southampton.
What their new manager's done since he's come in. Like he's picked up some big points.
Oh, definitely.
Like 2 points with going to Old Trafford and then playing Spurs at home, getting 2 points from that game, even at the start of the season, would have been a big win for Southampton. But yeah, like what was it? 7 points in his last 4. Now he's got 8 in his last 5.
Yeah.
That's class.
That's good going. Like.
Class.
They look down and out, so
Yeah.
for him to bring it back.
The annoying thing for Southampton this weekend was they got a big point, but all the teams around them also picked up points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of annoying thing that at the like obviously it's a massive result home
Yeah.
to Spurs, but in confines of the table it didn't really help them a massive amount this week.
Well, the only thing is, obviously, we keep saying on this podcast that you're more focused on beating the teams that are around you.
Yeah.
But these wee results are bonus points. These are
Yeah,
added
they're all
points, you know.
bonuses, like-
Because, like, let's say Wolves go to Arsenal or whatever and get smashed. Well, then Southampton could look at that and go,
That's a point gained.
well, we had a point there at Tottenham or we had a point there at Man
I'm
United.
just
So,
referring more to like the fact that Leeds managed to beat a relegation rival
Yeah.
this week, and
Yeah.
Everton also got a draw at
Yeah.
Stamford Bridge, which are 2 of their main rivals
Yeah.
at the minute. That's kind of be the frustrating thing for them, but they fully deserved the point. Like the last 15 minutes, they destroyed Chelsea. Like Chelsea,
Yeah.
like when it was made 3-2, Chelsea never even looked like getting another goal. Never mind making a chance. Or Chelsea, sorry, Tottenham never looked like creating a chance after it went to 3-2. So like Southampton fully deserved their point in that game, and look, Conte, it's a miracle he's still there. But I doubt we'll be doing this podcast in a week's time and talking about Antonio Conte's Tottenham anyway.
no, I don't think so. I think today we'll get the announcement at some stage that the Conte's left Spurs. But look, as you said there, Connor, he did make some fair points, to be honest. And I do feel like at times this season, the players haven't necessarily been playing for him. And I feel like at times this season, they definitely haven't given their best. You know, you only have to look at the Champions League game against AC Milan. That's as bad a performance from a side as you'll see, really. But yes, I agree with you, Oren, as the manager of a football club, to come out in an after-match press conference and just basically start ripping into your players like that. You know, you never see, like, great managers don't do that.
No, they got it wrong.
They did.
They've got it wrong since the sacked Pochettino. Like, and United done it too. We spoke about this ourselves. Actually, United done the exact same. They hired a manager that's name was massive,
Yeah.
but wasn't suited to the football club's style of play and ethos, general ethos. Like, we were used to watching Tottenham and them, as you said, being in the top 3, usually top 4, near enough guaranteed under Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah.
Look, whether Poch comes back and whether they can replicate the success that they had under Pochettino, who knows, because his style of football's changed as well. He went to PSG, didn't do well at PSG.
No.
And he had the best squad in the world at PSG, and he didn't do well. But he does thrive with, and I'm not trying to disrespect Tottenham, but underperforming teams, because I think that Tottenham team should be comfortably into the top 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
Best
Definitely.
striker in the world. They should definitely be, well, on paper, best striker in the world anyway. Osimhen at the minute's probably the best striker in the world. But like Harry Kane, it's unfathomable. What are you laughing at?
No.
Go on, tell me.
No, we were just doing the Aussie man.
Aussie man.
Oh, right.
You also forgot about Holland as
Yeah,
well.
that was awesome.
Yeah, but I would, controversially, I would say that Osimhen's in better form than Holland.
Really?
Yeah, I know Holland scored loads and loads of goals in the last like 3 games
Yeah.
against shade opposition, but Yeah, just in my opinion, at the current moment, Osimhen. I think Osimhen would be more favourable for every team in the world than Haaland would be at this current moment in time.
Well, Haaland's kind of like a Ronaldo in the sense that you have to change your style of play to suit him
Yeah.
as such. Whereas Osimhen, Osimhen could probably play in most systems.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. But yeah, Harry Kane, you need to be playing to his strengths, and obviously Pochettino knows that. Antonio Conte, look, he got a few good results when he first came into Spurs, but it was never going to last. He never lasts at any club. He went to Inter Milan, won the Scudetto, and
Bounced.
fucked off. Yeah, he rode out on his high horse.
He
But-
just burns bridges wherever he goes. Like,
On purpose, though.
yeah,
He does it on purpose. He knows, like, he wants to be sacked because he knows he'll get the payday.
Yeah.
He won't walk because he won't get a payday.
Yeah.
But he knows, do you know what, I'll disrespect the club and I'll get fucking a big bag. But
And he's always covering his back.
yeah, he's always covering his own back.
You know.
It's not my fault. It's not
Yeah.
my fault. Because no matter what happens with Antonio Conte, no matter how many bridges he burns, he's still a world-class manager and he'd be sought after by the biggest clubs.
yeah.
I think he's like a Mourinho. I think he's one of those guys that his time's done.
I understand that, but do you not think if Mourinho left Roma now and the likes of, and say for example, Carlo Ancelotti left Real Madrid, do you not think Real Madrid would go after Mourinho again?
I don't think so.
Oh, they would.
I don't think they
I
would.
don't know if
actually.
like, I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't see him going back to somewhere he's been before.
I don't mean literally, lad.
But I know, but I mean like a PSG or somebody would go for Mourinho if he was available and they sacked their manager or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Mourinho, he's still a big name. There's still big clubs going to go after him. It's the same with Conte.
Well, what do we think about Spurs? Like, do you think Pochettino, Tuchel,
I would say Pochettino has to be the front runner. You know.
Zidane?
Will he
No.
come in now then? Poch, do you think he'll come in? Or
I,
will he wait till
I don't
the
know.
season?
Austin seems to think that they're going to get Ryan Mason on an interim basis again for the rest of the season. And I think if that happens, that they're basically telling up the other clubs around them, yeah, you can have the
Yeah,
top
3
four.
points. Here we
Champions
go.
League, yeah.
I would say Pochettino, just because of the affiliation that he has with the club. Look, he says it in interviews all the time. Like, he loves Tottenham Hotspur. I personally, I know he was always linked with the United job and all, but I actually didn't think he would manage anybody else in the Premier League.
100% he would have.
No, I don't think he would have.
I think he would have too.
I don't know.
United, definitely.
If I knew the Tottenham Hotspur job was coming up, I'd be saying I fucking love Tottenham Hotspur. Do you know what I mean?
No, but he does have a real affiliation with that
No, I
club,
know he does.
and he
I
has
know
a
he
real
does.
affiliation with those fans. Those fans love him. They never wanted to see him sacked in the first place.
I still think if the United job was available and the Tottenham job was available, he'd go for United.
I don't know. I don't know.
He's
Some
a good-
managers are just loyal
Yeah, that's
people, and to me, Pochettino is one of those like loyal guys. I feel like he would just manage Tottenham.
He's a good relationship with Harry Kane as well, and they'll look to keep him in the summer. So
Yeah.
that's another reason as well.
That's the only way I think Harry Kane stays.
Yeah, same, I
Is
think,
if
yeah.
Pochettino
Yeah.
goes back.
Well, I don't think Kane will be there in the summer regardless, to be honest. I think he's coming up on the time of his life where he's about to be 30 years of age now, and there's still no trophies in the trophy cabinet, and for him to be regarded, like, it's all well and good him sitting there going, yeah, I'm Tottenham's all-time top goal scorer. I broke the Premier League's all-time goal scoring record. But no trophies to show for it. Is he really going to be sitting there when he's 40, 50, 60 years of age going, I'm happy with my career? No, I don't think so. I think no matter what happens, he'll leave in the summer and he'll look for a club that's going to be challenging for league titles. Because even if Poch comes back in, like, Spurs aren't going to be the type of club that are going to challenge for the Premier League. Like, no matter how many signings they make or who they sign, like, it's realistically not going to happen. They're not that type of club. They are we'll try and get into the Champions League every year, and if they can pick up an FA Cup or a League Cup or something along the way, they'll be really happy with that. Like, but to put Spurs in the same bracket as Arsenal, Man City, Man United, I'm sure Liverpool will be stronger next year as well. Are they going to be within that bracket? I don't think so.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from with Kane there, because like the Premier League got kind of Americanized, if you know what I mean, in terms of talking about players' careers where titles mean everything now.
Mhm.
The way a couple of years ago, you're like Alan Shearer, top goal scorer in the Premier League, best player ever playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have kids going, well, he only won one Premier League title. So like that's kind of going to be the same thing with Harry Kane, that if he doesn't win a trophy, he'll kind of just become a footnote in somebody else's history.
Yeah.
It's just like, where does he go then? Because he
United.
wants to stay in the Premier League. Man United's the only club, because every other team has a striker, except maybe Chelsea, but he's not going to go to
Yeah.
Chelsea.
No, he'll not go to Chelsea.
So it's just,
He'll go to United.
Like the only
Hope not, but
It's just like if
No, I hope
United
he
want
does.
them though. If United maybe would.
Oh, I'd say United will
Arsenal?
jump. United will jump on that.
I
Definitely.
can't see a world where United wouldn't take him.
Yeah,
It's just the price. Just it's gonna be
it'll be 100 million.
But is he?
Yeah.
It's not a lot. Did he sign a new deal? Did he?
2
No.
years. Nice
2
2 years
years,
left
so
on the deal.
Run down like so.
Hey, look, they'll charge no less than 100 million,
yeah.
Yeah.
and United will bite. They will 100%. 100%.
Hope not, but not that I don't want them. I would love them, but with Victor Osimhen available and 24, I'd much rather him than
Same.
Kane, who's 30, and is going to end up playing like Rooney in 2 years.
Okay.
Where he's going to go deep and deep
Deeper,
and deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
midfield.
Kane's like a win now player.
Yeah.
Win once now, where Osimhen is win loads in the
Yeah.
future.
Like, I
type of
understand,
player.
like, if we signed Harry Kane, it would be unbelievable, and I do think he would bring us a league title or two in the next 2 years. But I think just because it's £100 million for a 30-year-old, like, it reminds me a lot of when we signed Robin van Persie. We knew we were going to get 3 absolutely world-class years out of Van Persie,
And we only got one.
and we only got one.
Well, yeah.
But he cost 20 million. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a no-risk
Deal.
investment.
Yeah.
£20 million.
Well, 20 million then was expensive.
For the best. No, it wasn't.
For
lad.
Van Persie.
No,
not
it
for
really
somebody
was
else.
not.
In 2012, 20 million was expensive.
Not,
Sure,
not,
no,
like,
no,
not for a
it
player
wasn't.
like Robin van Persie.
Not a chance it was.
Like
For a guy who only had 1 year left on his contract.
Fernando Torres is going for 50 million.
Yeah. 20 million was
Aye,
steep.
but sure, Torres had, 3 or 4 years still left on his Liverpool contract. That's why he was so expensive. 20 million for 1 year left on the deal for a 30-year-old at the time was expensive.
Well, like
I disagree.
this is like when I was like an avid Arsenal fan, and I felt robbed when we sold Van Persie for 20 million
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Like absolutely robbed.
Oh, well, what do you do? Look, I'll move it on. We'll go top of the table because I feel like we could sit and talk about strikers all day.
we went on a mad tangent there.
If we wanted to. So moving to Arsenal, 4-1 victors at home to Crystal Palace. Obviously, Patrick Vieira has just been sacked by Crystal Palace. So,
Ridiculous.
like I said, I'll open it up there, boys. Anybody wants to jump in? Jump in.
Arsenal fully deserved game was over fairly early on. Like Arsenal are really reinvigorated this title challenge. That are playing football the last couple of weeks that we knew they could play, that they hadn't played. Like I know you're talking about the Bournemouth game, which was a bit ropey, but out of their last 4 games, they beat Everton 4-0. They beat Fulham. They went away to Fulham, beat them 3-0. They beat Palace 4-1. So barring that Bournemouth game, they've looked really strong and full value for their wins. Jesus is back now.
Jesus.
Gabriel Jesus. Jesus is back now, which is a big addition to them. Partey is back, fully back. He's back well now, but he's back to the peak of his powers. Xhaka's playing fantastic. Scored a great goal at the weekend. Nice wee finish. Martinelli is quietly having a fantastic season. Scored again at the weekend. We know how good Bukayo Saka and Odegaard is.
Yeah.
So I'm really struggling to see a weak point in this team. Obviously, Saliba's injury could be massive, and they're not going to get their back partnership isn't going to get tested massively against a pretty poor Palace side without their manager now. So that's not really the gauge to judge how Rob Holding's going to slot in that team. But look, Rob Holding is kind of become a bit of a meme at Arsenal. But I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when Arsenal played United early on in the year and Holding done his ACL. Before that, Holding was playing fantastic.
I actually think Rob Holding's a pretty good defender, to be honest.
Rob Holding can get a run in the team. He can be a pretty good defender. Like, he's not going to be Saliba's level.
No.
We're not going to kid ourselves and say that's not a loss for Arsenal. It is.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
He's a good. Did you see that documentary they done with Amazon? Like he was a good
Hey,
morale
character,
player.
yeah.
Character, like, they all loved him. Like
Yeah,
he seemed to be
have
good for
around,
that. Yeah.
And that's the thing, that Arsenal team seems so in unison.
Yeah.
Like even when Kieran Tierney came on and assisted the 4th goal, and obviously you know how much I love Tierney. Like Tierney hasn't been happy at Arsenal. He's not been playing, but even when he put that cross, Saka didn't care that he scored the goal. The first thing he did was go to give Tierney a hug for playing the ball into him, and that just shows how together that Arsenal team is. Is that if anybody is feeling down, they want the whole squad together. They want to bring everybody in, and I think that's just why Arsenal are going so well at the minute, is because there is no egos in that team at the minute. There's no prima donnas. There's no I'm better than you. Like we've seen Conte coming out and blitzing Spurs players playing for themselves. There's none of that at this Arsenal team at the minute. Saka is happy enough to not touch the ball and Arsenal score, whereas some clubs, a player, I have to be involved. That's not really at Arsenal at the minute, and that's why they're going so well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I would definitely agree with that. Look, I seen over the weekend there, Saka is the first player since Alexis Sanchez to register 10 Premier League goals and 10 Premier League assists. He is crazy good.
Unbelievable.
To be that good at 21 years of age. It's just baffling to me, to be honest. Just how good the kid is. He is really Arsenal's future. That's their marquee player. That's their, if we were talking about American sports, that's their franchise player as such. They will need Saka to stick around for a very long time. And again, it's always, I always like the stories when it's homegrown players and it's players that come from the academy and slot in and start to perform at this kind of level. Stories like that always make me happy, to be honest, because to me it just proves you don't need to go out and spend the hundreds of millions on players. You know, maybe there are guys in your academy that you can look at that could reach that level. He is definitely amongst the top 3 players in the Premier League at this current moment in time. I don't think anybody else could argue against that. Phenomenal talent. Arsenal just really playing some good football there in the last 2 games. Have sort of reverted back to that nice sort of almost Guardiola style of football. And I know Arteta's style is a bit different to Guardiola, but they do look
it's based on it.
It is, yeah. And they do look more free flowing now, and you can just see every time they get the ball, their first instinct is to attack, and that's what good teams have to do. Good teams have to just always be constantly thinking about trying to get up the field as quickly as possible and putting the ball in the back of the net. That's what Arsenal have done well this season. So look, fair play to them. It was a good result, but at the same time, a Crystal Palace team that are
rudderless.
Terrible.
Yeah.
They're the only team in the top 4, top 4 leagues that haven't won a game in 2023.
At least they got a shot on target this time.
The third choice keeper, and that's, I don't know why they sacked Vieira
To bring back
before
Roy
this game
Hodgson.
to bring back Roy Hodgson. Like, at least if you're gonna give him one more go at Arsenal, like against Arsenal, they did improve a bit, but for Arsenal, like, Arsenal are the best team in the league. They play the best football. Some of the best players. Like, even like bringing Jesus back into it, like Martinelli's just like gone up a level the last few weeks, you know, since he's got back in and Trossard's got back in. But with Palace, like, we all knew they're going to get smacked at Arsenal. They just, I see even their centre back got injured right before the game. Roy Anderson, they were down like their third choice keeper. Like, I don't think he had made an appearance before the game until midweek. And I just don't understand why you sack Vieira. I know he hasn't won a game, but why would you sack him like 2 days before the Arsenal game? Why not just give him the Arsenal game? Because you're going to bring in this, I think it was like Paddy McCarthy or something.
Yeah.
Their under 21 coach or something. Like, how were they expected to get a result
No.
at Arsenal?
I
Like,
think they might have just sacked him because they kind of just wrote the Arsenal game off anyway.
yeah. But like, why wouldn't you just try? Why wouldn't you give it one more go and then sack him in the international break if you're going to sack him? That's what I just didn't understand.
12 games without a win was a lot.
Yeah.
But we all said it in the mid-season review. Patrick Vieira was overperforming with Crystal Palace. Like, we went through that Palace 1-11. They're terrible.
They're terrible.
They're a bad side. Like,
They're rubbish.
and he was on the shoestring budget that he had was overperforming with that side. We said back then, you know, Palace were always the type of team that were going to be somewhere between 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, somewhere in around that region. But you know what? I think sacking Vieira has put them in real trouble now. And, you know, with the way the league's going this season and how people are picking up points and dropping points, Palace could find themselves within that relegation battle very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So
I think they already are.
I think they're in it
They're
too.
like 3 points above or something.
Don't get me wrong, yes, they are. Like, statistically and based on the league position, yes, they are in that battle, but just compared to some of the other teams that are there, I think there are some other sides that are worse off than them at the minute.
Like, out of the 7 teams below them, there's probably 3 that are worse.
Yeah, there has to be.
It's
So
just so tight down there at the minute.
It is.
So you you don't know what's going to happen.
It's class, to be honest.
it's exciting.
It is class.
Like the
relegation battle is
The
brilliant.
final day of the season this year is going to be sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Especially
brilliant.
if Arsenal and City are still tight and it's like Arsenal City could win the league and there's like 6 teams that still get relegated. There's 3 teams fighting for Champions League. The last day of the season this year is going to be class. You're
unreal.
not going to know what game to watch.
It'll be unreal.
That's true. That's very true. All right, well, moving it on to Leeds and Wolves. This is a result that absolutely blew my mind, to be honest. I did not expect Leeds going to Wolves and to beat them as comfortably as what they did, 4-2. Leeds putting together a bit of a run now at the minute, and, you know, the team that I thought were dead and buried are showing a little bit of character and showing a little bit of fight now over these recent few weeks. But I think Wolves just... Wolves haven't looked good these last couple of weeks. I don't know what it is, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I seen until Cunha scored, they hadn't had a striker score in like 30 games or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's not good enough. They need their main priority this summer has to be getting some sort of number 9 that's going to come in and score at least 15 goals in the Premier League.
The chances they created in this game, oh my, like they had so many clear-cut chances that they just made an absolute hames of.
Yeah.
Like they could have been 3-0 up themselves, and then when they went 3-0 down, it could have very easily been 3-all.
Yeah.
They just made so many chances and took 2 of them, but they took none of them really.
Yeah.
Like it's fairly easy to start scoring goals when you're 3-0 down.
Yeah.
And then they got it back to 3-2, and they should have made it, at least got a point out of this game.
Yeah.
Those last 10 minutes, and they didn't.
It's so frustrating for Wolves, like, and I think Wolves fans are going to be really frustrated because I do think in their squad they have that player that's going to score them 15 goals a season, but he's injured from the start of the season, Sasa
Klajic.
and he's class. He tore up the Bundesliga, and they got him for like 15 million, but he was injured before the season even started, and I think if they had him fit from the very start of the season, it could have been a very, very, very different look for Wolves.
It's strange how, you know, like, so they bought Klajic, and I would have been the same as you, and I thought Klajic was going to come in and score
Linked boss, like
quite a few goals, to be honest. Just unfortunate that in his first 20 minutes of Premier League football he snaps his fucking ACL. But then they go to Diego Costa, who is long past his best.
Yeah, what the hell was that about?
And that is just a stupid signing.
I do think they had to.
I honestly, I think they'd have been better going without Diego Costa. Just long past it. And then they spend 50 million on Cunha, who
was never good enough.
Has never been a proven goal scorer. I always thought Cunha was a decent player. I always thought there was talent and there was ability there, but like, that's his first goal for Wolves.
And it was lucky.
It's taken him exactly.
It took a massive deflection.
It's taken him this long to register a goal at Wolves.
Crazy.
So like, this is a guy you paid 50 million quid for. It's astronomical money for somebody who's ultimately going to underperform while he's there.
I understand how Wolves knew they were in this position. They knew they were going to be in this position for the rest of the season. And yes, they've bought players that haven't worked out. But why did they let Gonçalo Guedes go on loan after they paid 35 million for him in the summer? He's only scored 2 or 3 goals for Wolves.
Yeah.
But he's still an attacking option who has the ability to score goals. Why would you let him go on loan when you know you haven't got good enough depth in your attacking squad?
Agreed. And look, they've also, I think, a major thing that people maybe haven't looked at this season, and maybe we haven't analysed yet, is like they've missed Pedro Neto for a lot of games this season.
Unreal.
And Pedro Neto is their best attacking player. Like,
he's unreal.
And like, this guy, he was linked with Chelsea in the summer. Pedro Neto is a phenomenal footballer, and they have missed that. The one thing Neto can do is he can make a goal out of absolutely nothing. He is that special player that can beat a man and just put a ball into the net, and they just don't have that at the minute. And you can see they have the manager, they have some of the pieces in place to really, you know, push on. And I do think next season Wolves are going to be an even better force, because they have that. They have the world class manager. They have the pieces on the board. Kilman, excellent defender. Neves has to be regarded as one of the best midfielders in the league. And then, you know, if you start putting other pieces around that, then that young fella Bueno at left back has been very, very good this year. Nathan Collins, again, great addition. Jose Sa and Nets, one of the best keepers in the league. There are pieces there. Matthias Nunes, great midfielder. Adama, even if he is only coming off the bench, it's still a great option to have off the bench. If they keep Pedro Neto fit, that's a fantastic player as well. When Klajic comes back from injury, again, you're adding another piece to that puzzle. They can be one of the better sides in the league. I just think this season is ultimately a bit of a write-off for them. Yeah. And now their main priority is just try and win as many points as they can from now to the end of the season and just stay up.
They need to focus.
They've been unlucky as well. Like,
they're unlucky with VAR this weekend.
Did you see the game? Like, how that was? I don't know how that wasn't a penalty. And they've had it against Newcastle last week. Yeah. I know you don't really want to blame VAR or whatever, but and then that Liverpool FA Cup game, I know it's in the FA Cup.
That's right.
But Wolves have been very unlucky. Like, if that game last week, if Pope gets sent off, they win that game, let's be honest.
Yeah.
If they get the penalty 1-1, you never know. You know, they've been very... I don't know how that wasn't a penalty.
There was 3 massive VAR decisions in that game, and all 3 went against Wolves, and only one of them was the right decision. Johnny should have been sent off. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
That was a straight red card. should have been a penalty, and the fourth goal, Traore was fouled. There's a clear shirt pull there.
Yeah, the 4-2,
Like, I don't understand how the ref can go to the monitor and see that and not disallowed it. Okay, maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but it would give them at least a minute to try and get something out of the game. Instead of game being dead at 4-2.
Yeah, the way football is now, it's a momentum game.
Yeah.
So when your momentum's being hindered by stuff out of your control, how do you expect it to progress from that?
Definitely.
You can't, to be honest.
No.
There's nothing you can do about it. Like how many games this season, how many times this season have we said VAR is ruining the flow of football, and it is completely. You only have to look at the FA Cup games this weekend. One FA Cup game in particular where, I'm not going to touch too much on it because we don't cover FA Cup here, but Fulham were the better side against Manchester United, and VAR completely ruined their afternoon because United weren't at it.
No. Well, at least that was the right decision.
Yes, look, don't get me wrong, absolutely the right decisions, but when the game is constantly being stopped because something needs to be checked or something needs to be looked at, see that 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes recovery the teams get, and that chance to speak to a manager again.
Massive.
Can change a game.
Yeah, it's like a boxing match.
It is.
100%.
It's like a boxing match. You could be winning the first round, and then you get your opponent gets 60 seconds to recover in between rounds, and they could come out and absolutely blitz you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recovery time is massive, especially in a high intensity sport like football.
Exactly. And all a manager needs to do is say, listen, what I want you to do is tuck over to this side because I can see this guy keeps pulling in here, and then there you go, you've exploited something that you wouldn't have got the opportunity to do 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
You see that in Arsenal games now, especially, it's always Zinchenko or Xhaka or someone either calling the whole squad over for a huddle to decide what they're going to do, or they'll go over to Arteta when someone's down injured to get a drink, and they'll all talk about what's going to happen. And that's massive for teams, especially in that position. Like, you wrote a great article on VAR, lad, and people should really check that out in the Bottom Bins website.
Thank you.
Richie wrote a brilliant article about the controversies of VAR this season, so definitely check that out. But the hindrance and momentum is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Like, do you remember in the COVID season, in like terms of the GA, there was the water break every 15 minutes?
Yes.
And that was a minute long.
Yes.
Did you see the amount of games where a team would be dominating that game of football?
Yeah.
And then the water break would happen, and it completely
It
changes.
changed. Yeah.
Because they got that minute's recovery. And as a manager, you can stand on the sideline and go shout at the player. But when you have them, like, you can actually talk to them, tell them why you're doing something.
Yeah.
Like, if you're on manager on the left hand touchline, you're trying to talk to your right winger, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
But when you get the full group in behind you, and you can go, right, this is what we need to do. You need to make a few more inverted runs or run diagonally or whatever. You can actually talk directly to him, get your message across. Changes games completely. And
especially close contact.
Yeah.
Like, you've been playing sport how long?
All my life nearly.
Yeah, all your life. All of us have, really. Like, if you hear the opposition manager shouting at the fella you're marking to do this and do that, you're just going to fucking... Oh, well, if he's going to do that, that's how I'm going to defend him. Do you know what I mean? You know his tactics.
Like, if he's saying, he's every time he's shooting off his right, okay, right, well, I'm going to go off my left.
Exactly. Yeah. Easy.
I like that.
I love the fact that I'm playing, I have the ability to shoot off my left.
Hey, you scored a hat-trick yesterday, lad.
You did.
No, that's true.
For the listeners who don't keep up with our personal lives, we played football yesterday, and Owen McCardle started off in nets and was like, do you know what, folks? You're playing shite.
Need an attacking spark.
We need an attacking spark here. He took an absolutely ridiculous touch out of the air from about 40 yards up in the air. He took it out of the air, and he went on to score a hat-trick. So, big up
He
to
did.
McCardle.
He did.
It's just what I do.
That is just what he does, to be fair. I'm yet to receive a thank you.
Thanks, lad.
No worries, lad.
Just typical Monday, lad.
Should have had 4 for them making balls in Richie's corner.
Well, look, I'll move it on, lads. Aston Villa, 3-0 victors at Bournemouth. At home to Bournemouth. Again, like we've said, that this is one of those games where I'm sure Bournemouth aren't looking at it going, we've been beat by a side that are much better than us as such. They're going to be more concerned about the games against teams that are around them, and Villa aren't around them, so I don't think they'll worry too much about it. But Villa under Emery at times look very, very impressive, and I think if Emery had been there from the start of the season, I think we would be talking about a completely different Aston Villa. At the moment, I think we'd be looking at a Villa that was maybe pushing those sort of European spots. He is, again, similar to what I've just said about Wolves, they have the pieces there, and another strong transfer window I think will see them push well up the table,
especially with their investment.
Yes,
their owners invest in them so much.
They're
exactly.
Yeah.
They're very rich, a club that has a lot of history. So if they start to get this right, where we could be looking at another sort of Premier League powerhouse in Aston Villa that could go into the Europa Conference League or even into the Europa League itself, and could do well. Thankfully, my pick of the week managed to deliver an assist, so he got some points this week. So thank you, Ollie Watkins. Villa very good, I have to say. I've been really impressed, especially with Buendia.
Like Emery said after the game too, he says like the last few home games he's really starting to see his philosophy being shown on the pitch, and you can see that like they're starting to dominate games, and like people like Douglas Luiz and John McGinn have really improved.
Yeah,
obviously Ollie Watkins is flying as well.
Yeah.
And they were the better team, and even at the back they look a lot more solid, because before with Gerrard they're kind of all over the place. Now they look a bit more solid. I know they conceded like 4 goals a few times.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think if he was in place from the start of the year, they would be up there, because I think they're like 5th or 6th in most points since he's come in.
He's
He's got like 26 points in like 14 games, which is impressive. Like they're tied with Chelsea now, and I just can't see them getting better. Like they're just going to keep getting better and better if they just keep improving. Even I think they'll get like a centre back in or something.
Yeah.
Maybe another midfielder. I know Mings has been playing well.
And they had Diego Carlos to come back from injury.
I just see like
he was on the bench the other day.
Yeah. With his philosophy, they're just going to keep getting better and better. And under Emery, I can see them. European football would definitely be a realistic target, especially with owners.
Like this game was 3-0 going on 6 or 7. Like Bournemouth were just never in it.
No,
Villa by far the better team. And as you say, it's just a pity Gerrard made such a mess of this team at the start of the season, because they probably would be challenging for Europe if Emery had been in since the summer. They'd definitely be fighting with the likes of. I could see them being in the same sort of position as like a Fulham or a Brentford or like those teams that were waxing lyrical about, because they're in like a 4-game unbeaten run. The 2 games they had before that were City and Arsenal, like write-offs really, and they were very unlucky not to come away with a point against Arsenal. But obviously the one came off Martinez's back, and then Martinez went for a dander up for a corner. But Villa have been really impressive the last couple of weeks, and as I said, Ollie Watkins, how is that man not getting England call-ups?
Yeah, it's strange.
It makes no sense whatsoever. He's probably the most informed striker in the Premier League at the minute, well, one of them anyway, and like he's
It's
playing
just
fantastic.
favouritism in that England squad.
It's such favouritism. Like so as we know, Southgate has his favourites.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips has 56 minutes of Premier League action this year, and he's in the England squad. It's disgusting.
Why? And again, nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
That's an absolute flop of a transfer. Like
£50 million.
Jesus.
Ridiculous.
Dreadful.
No, I agree with you. And Watkins is fantastic, really good striker. And he is performing at the minute. There's no doubt about it. Emery seems to be getting the best out of him. And one player that has just, for me, I just love watching him at the minute. Like I always love attacking midfielders, to be honest. There's just something about them. I always think they are the best players on a team. But Buendia is special. Yeah. Really special player. I think that Buendia is going to be the catalyst of change for that Aston Villa team. I think, in my opinion, I think Buendia could be one of the top sort of attacking midfielders in the Premier League. The same way we talk about Maddison, or the same way we talk about Odegaard. Like I feel like Buendia could get to that level. I do think he is that talented.
See, Buendia we're seeing that played for Norwich.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. The one that is not afraid to beat a man. The one that's not afraid to play a difficult ball that other players in the team mightn't want to take on that chance. Like Buendia will carry that responsibility. He's fantastic to watch at the minute.
First class.
Definitely.
He is. Well, look, I'll move it on then to the last game of the game week. Second last game of the game week. Chelsea and Everton. Chelsea left with egg on their faces.
Once again.
So thankfully, I'm just going to cross my legs here and get comfortable, because we could be in for a good 10-minute chat here.
I'm assuming the only reason Potter's still there is because he's still in the Champions League. That's the only reason I can think of, that they don't want to disrupt it in the middle of the Champions League run. Because I feel if they had got beat by Dortmund, he had to be gone.
Well,
like this is just another joke of a game. Like, let's be honest. Obviously, full compliments to Sean Dyche. He has done an amazing job and has completely transferred Everton. Because when he came into Everton, it was as dark as it could get.
Yeah.
It was a bad place to be. And he's picked up some great results. He beat Arsenal, obviously the draw away to Chelsea. But let's be honest, you're 2-1 up against Everton, and you let Ellis Sims stroll down your wing and finesse it in the bottom corner. Like I watched Ellis Sims a lot when he played for Hearts against Celtic. He's okay. He's not a Premier League striker. He absolutely bossed the Chelsea defence. Chelsea defenders made him look like bloody prime Thierry Henry when he just opens the body up and passes into the net. And it's just, Chelsea are just so frustrating and poor to watch, because we know they have the talent. They've spent so much money on this talent,
Mm-hmm.
and they just throw stupid points. Like even the first Everton goal, a corner, Tarkowski wants the first ball, and then you let Decore 2 yards from the line flick a header in the net. How can the player be so free 2 yards away from your own goal?
know.
It makes no sense. You get a penalty to go 2-1 up, and Havertz does this stupid hop skip shite. Like, okay, well done, you scored. I hate that stupid penalty. Like, I don't think it should be allowed that when you stop your run up. I know they tried to bring it a couple of years ago. Like, he got away. Like, it's the only reason they're still in the Champions League is because he done that stupid run up, and the Dortmund players like can't tell the future.
Into the box,
they have to move eventually. Like, and just Chelsea are just so poor to watch. Like, I don't understand how, like, we talk about Vieira losing his job. How does Graham Potter still have a job? It makes no sense to me. They brought him in to be the saviour of Chelsea after sacking one of the best managers in the history of football, on Thomas Tuchel, for not having. Like, Thomas Tuchel wasn't doing that badly. He didn't have a great start, but they gave him no time to turn this around, and they give him Graham Potter umpteen chances to turn it around, and he's turning it in the other direction. Every time they think they've done a positive, they get a great result against Dortmund in the Champions League. As controversial as it was, great result for them, and then they go out and draw off Everton at home after being 2-1 up with 2 minutes to go. Makes no sense. And I see like Twitter Chelsea fans, like video Everton fans going, they're cheering a draw, thinking they're making fun of them. Like, why is that a bad thing? They just witnessed the academy graduate scores first ever goal for the club in the 89th minute in Stamford Bridge, and Chelsea fans are laughing at the fact they're celebrating and not out bemoaning the fact that Graham Potter's still their manager and their club is an absolute mess at the minute.
No, definitely, I'd agree with that. That should have been out of sight, to be honest, but fair play to Everton, stuck in the game. Scored a set piece, as you said. It was kind of a mad set piece, like one header and then no header. Seen like 4 of their 7 goals have come from set pieces.
Yeah.
So that's how you stop Everton.
Dyche way.
Yeah.
Like.
The goal as well, Sims, fair enough, he done well, but Koulibaly got absolutely skint. He has been horrendous since he's joined the club. Like, honestly, that was just disgusting.
We're talking about a striker here that Jozo Simonovic could keep quiet for Celtic. Like.
And then the goalkeeper has to save the shot. I've been saying that about Kepa. Kepa, I just don't think Kepa is good enough, to be honest, at shot stopping, because like he concedes so many silly goals. But people were like, oh, Chelsea. I don't know why the media, they're very positive towards Chelsea. Like, they won like 3 games in a row and they were back. They're sitting 10th in the league, tied on points with 11th place Aston Villa. Like, it's.
And you'd argue Villa's the better side.
Villa's better. If they played tomorrow, I'd say Villa beat them.
I'd be back
Villa.
Yeah.
Chelsea at home as well have been very poor. But like, you know, as Owen said, like, Champions League's the only thing to have, and Real Madrid are gonna
pump
them. So it's just gonna be for Potter. It's just, I think they'll keep Potter to the end of the season, and then it'll be the end of Potter. But like for Chelsea, even next season,
Where do they go?
Because they spend so much money. They're probably not going to be able to spend much more money in the summer.
You wouldn't imagine so.
Because the financial fair play. So it's just like, where do they go from here?
Suppose they've Lukaku coming back.
Yeah, lad. Oh God.
See, Aston Villa and Everton are apparently looking at his situation.
Lukaku's?
He'd be decent for a club like that, to be fair.
Can you imagine Lukaku back at Everton?
It'd be
Everton
unreal.
would be good.
That
Like,
would be
In
sick.
the Championship, he'd turn up, lad.
I can.
He would turn up.
I know.
I'd say Minty would be absolutely buzzing with that.
It would be unreal.
Buzzing with it.
Let's be honest, the best version of Lukaku were West Brom Lukaku and Everton Lukaku.
And first
year, Man
Man
United.
United, he was good, yeah, first year.
He scored 27 goals in his first year, lad.
Yeah.
He was good at
When he
United.
had like the dreadlocks, that was the best Lukaku you're ever going to get.
But Dyche is doing well. Like, he's 11 points in his first 8, and I think Lampard in his last 8 had like 2 points, so he's completely turned it around. And they just look more together as a team, and stability and set pieces as well. They're so dangerous from that kind of area.
Imagine that where Everton could have been if they had to give Dyche time to bring in transfers
It's true.
instead of giving him a
Didn't even
day.
get his own players.
It's true. It's true. Look, if they had just got rid of Lampard at the start of January, and you know, Dyche could have gotten a striker that he wanted. You know, like you look at some of the strikers that went in January. Chris Wood probably would have been perfect for that sort
he'd have been
that
there.
sort of system, and you could see him being very successful at a side like Everton. But look, fair play to them. You know, they had their backs against the wall, and look, I know, Owen, you've obviously seen more of Ellis Sims than I've ever seen of him, but it was a good goal.
It was good.
It was,
You know, like he absolutely made one
He
of
still had scored, yeah.
Europe's best centre backs look like a fool. To be
Well, he's a
honest,
young
It was
fella.
shocking.
Like he's got so much time. Hopefully, Dyche, until the end of the season at least, could turn him into
Well, look, that's it.
a bit of a goal
You
scorer.
hear at Sunderland, like I never watched him at Sunderland to be honest, but you read about it, like he played okay.
Yeah.
Like so he's
Well,
at least championship level.
Don't get me wrong, he had caused Celtic bother in the He has scored against Celtic, but that's because we always seem to get served first against Hearts and then we beat them like 5-1. But he always seemed to be the guy who scored the one.
Yeah.
But, like, he's not a bad player. Like, he does have good qualities. I just don't think he's
Like Premier League.
Premier League level. Like, he's
Yeah.
not. He's
Yeah.
not going to be the man for Everton. They need a new striker.
No, yeah, I agree
know what I
with
mean?
that, but Sean Dyche has to play with the cards.
Oh,
that he
he's
has.
got
all he
yeah,
has.
he's
That's
working
all he
well. He
has.
has.
Yeah.
And
It's better than
Look,
Mope.
Exactly.
I'm
And
better than
look,
bloody Mope.
we keep saying, it is.
Don't see Mope scoring a hat-trick
No.
on Monday
It's
evening.
true.
No. But it is a shame for Everton because like Calvert-Lewin is a good striker. He just can't stay fit.
Yeah.
And if he could stay fit, I do think Everton would be in a much better scenario. It is just a shame that their talisman is not available 90% of the time. Right, well, moving on to the last game then, lads. Brentford drawn 1-1 with Leicester. I don't really know what to say about this game, tell you the truth, guys. It just felt like
Two points dropped.
It felt like
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
points dropped, really, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't the greatest game of football, to be honest.
very
It
boring.
was a drag.
I thought Brentford were going to pump them.
Yeah.
So did I.
At home,
Yeah.
I thought they were going to pump them.
Yeah.
But Leicester actually played a lot better than I thought they would as well. Like
Yeah.
they did create a few chances
Mm.
and they deserved a point at least. So and it's a big point for them as well because
Oh, it's
they're in that
huge,
relegation zone. and
huge
But
point.
coming
for
off
them.
4 losses on the spin, so away to Brentford.
Brentford being 1-0 up at home, you would have liked to thought Brentford could have seen that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't. Like, obviously, Harvey Binky Barnes, a good wee finish for the equaliser.
Thank you, Barnes.
Becky Barnes. 25 seasons of Arthur.
What a show. Hard to believe he became a professional footballer off that. Like,
I know,
Binky.
yeah, fair play to him. Like.
I didn't see it coming. Like,
Against all the
Binky
odds.
Barnes will equal.
Against
Well,
all
look,
the odds.
I don't know, boys. There's not much more I can say about that game other than 2 points dropped. So shall we just move it on to
Yeah.
to the players of the week?
that's
Yeah.
the game that happened. Like,
Yeah. Connor, you want to take us first with your player of the week?
There's actually, like a few players this week that have played very well, like Walcott goal and assist out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Isaac obviously for
still out back
Isaac
potential, so he does.
Newcastle 2 goals, but it has to be Saka 2 goals and assist. Unbelievable player, as you said. Was it now? I think he's got 12 goals, 10 assists in the Premier League, which is just mental. His finishing is unbelievable, and just all round, just a really top player. And
Yeah.
You forget how young he is.
yeah,
Like,
he's only 21.
he's younger than me, and that just makes me feel so
Yeah,
bad.
and I think he's definitely a top 3 player in the Premier League, and I think if they win the league, he could definitely get Player of the Year.
100%.
100%.
100%, lad. Completely agreed. Owen, cream of the cream, boob of the week.
We've talked about him enough so far. It's Antonio Conte for turning into his own team, like, professional manager. I see where he's coming from. He made some valid points, but you can't do that. Like, as a leader of it, supposed to be the face of a team.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Like,
No, agreed. My fantasy player of the week, we double game week for Brighton this week. I am going with Alexis McAllister in great form at the minute, scoring goals, assisting, looking like World Cup winner Alexis McAllister. So he's going to be my fantasy
There's
player
a
of the
double
week.
game week coming up too.
Yes,
Yeah, I've got him captain.
very good player. Been picking up a lot of points recently, so
Yeah.
I think he's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Really?
definitely.
Warren, opinion of the week?
Mine's very much kind of like what we talked about with Ollie Watkins, how he didn't get into the England squad. So mine is that Florian Balogun should have been picked for the England squad. 18 goals and 2 assists in Ligue 1 this year. In France anyway, in 29 appearances. He's been turning it up out there. He's only 21, and I don't even necessarily think he should have picked him to start, but this is a player with so much potential and he has a couple of different countries that he can represent, that England probably should have got him in now and gave him a couple of appearances so he couldn't switch his nations. And I think that Gareth Southgate's missed out because of his English bias towards the Premier League and his own personal bias with his personal preference of players such as Calvin Phillips and the sort.
yeah.
Even the likes of Ben White, obviously whatever happened at the World Cup wasn't picked.
Tamori, Spiggle.
Tamori,
Like, how is he
never
not getting
picked.
picked?
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. Like he played against Spurs in the Champions League last 16, played
And
well.
was unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
kept quiet, helped keep quiet Harry
Harry
Kane.
Kane, yeah.
Yeah.
But main striker, and then Southgate's coming out saying, "Oh, we're eventually going to miss out on players, and I'm going to have to look in the Championship, and then he's not even looking at players that are sitting in League One.
That are playing in other respected leagues.
Yeah.
Look, fair enough. Premier League's best league in the world.
Yeah.
Can't disagree with that. But it's not as if the other leagues around the world are of a shite quality, like, because they aren't. You know, like we're looking at guys who have gone overseas. Because they're not getting the opportunities at the Premier League clubs that they probably deserve, to be honest. You know, a few years ago, Tomori was starting at Chelsea and was a very impressive player and was just dumped out because Chelsea thought they could go and spend 90 million on other defenders who have ended up being shite. So I like the fact that Tomori has went to AC Milan, has won a league title and looks like one of Europe's best young centre-backs.
Still in the Champions League.
Still in the Champions League, you know, kept quiet, arguably one of the best strikers in world football at the minute in Harry Kane. Then you look at the likes of Balogun, wasn't going to get his opportunity at Arsenal. You know, even like you look at Nketiah, you know, Nketiah got his opportunity at Arsenal this season. He smashed it.
Yeah.
Balogun, he didn't get the same opportunities, but he's gone away. He's gone to a league in a team that we're probably expected to do very little in France, and he's been, I think he's maybe second or third top goal scorer in Ligue 1 at the minute. He's been absolutely fantastic. So it just goes to show you there are English players out there, and I would say the same to Irish players too. If you do need to go abroad, why not give it a go? You know, because like if you even look at Jadon Sancho, look, I know he's not replicated his Dortmund form, but he was one of the best wingers in the world when he was at Dortmund. You know, just because you're from a certain country, you don't need to play your football in that country. Go away, get yourself some experience, and you never know. Working under different coaches, under different systems, could end up benefiting you and end up benefiting your style of football. So, we said it on our World Cup episodes. You know what you get with Southgate. He has his favourites.
As far as Gareth Southgate's concerned, there is no football outside of England.
No.
He doesn't understand what the Champions League is.
No.
He's like, where is Madrid? I need to look at a map of England. I've never heard of this Madrid place. Like, it's just boggles the mind how...
Holy fuck. Your head is so mad to me sometimes, lad. Where do you come up with this utter shit?
Where is this Madrid place?
Oh my god. And he was definitely thinking in his head, oh, this is fucking hilarious.
So yeah, Gareth Southgate doesn't like Italians, clubs,
Do you know,
apparently.
Funny, I seen a thing on Sport Bible the other day, and it was, do you think Gareth Southgate could be a Premier League manager?
Absolutely
Not
not.
a chance.
Like, how is he still in the England job?
Yeah.
Like, he is a
Crazy. His
terrible
football
manager.
is just dreadful.
In fairness, he does know how to raid the luck, something serious.
Oh, 100%.
I
100%.
just
But
wonder what he's going to say there.
Yeah, no, he raids.
in terms of the actual football, though, it's fucking brutal.
It's not good, like.
Terrible.
For
Well,
such a talented squad.
exactly.
The best of it is do the Italy next and Ukraine, and I bet you they'll struggle in
They'll-
both
in
games.
both them
And then
games.
everybody will be like,
Yeah.
South, get out, South, get out, South, get out.
But look at the attacking talent that England have. It's fucking crazy how good the attacking talent is that they have. Arguably second best striker in the Premier League, Harry Kane. Arguably most informed player in the world, Marcus Rashford. I know he's pulled out, but
Saka.
they've Saka, they've Nketiah, Foden, Balogun, you know, Watkins, Wilson,
Sancho.
Like Rashford,
Tony,
Chelsea.
for fuck's sake.
Tony, yeah.
You name it, they have it. Like, you know, there is absolutely zero reason that team shouldn't be winning some sort of international tournament, like with an attacking breadth of talent like
I
that
think
there.
I think with a better
But fuck them, you don't want to see it happen.
Yeah, no, I love Gareth Southgate. He's
Well, with a better
he's best man
manager-
for the job, like.
But with a better manager, the World Cup was there not like it basically was there to be won. I think for
The
England.
easiest route to the final.
The French
The
are
French
there
game
for
they would have been in the
taking, like,
Yeah.
final against Argentina.
Like, France
and
are
they have a
crap,
better,
like.
they have a better team than Argentina. So
Look, everybody knows the Republic's going to win the next World Cup, so we have Evan Ferguson.
We're well
and-
aware that we might as well talk about Ireland's 4-0 win over France now. Like, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Ferguson hat trick, Nathan Collins keeping Mbappe out of it the
Yeah.
entire game. Like,
All the boys, let's go. Well, we shall move it on.
in our shitty Castor jerseys.
Yeah, terrible, but we'll not get into that. No. So that'll do it for this episode.
No guest player this week.
No guest player this week.
We'll do it again next week.
Our predictions we are not going to do on the podcast anymore because, to be honest, I can't really be bothered listening back and taking a tally mark
Remember
of
them.
everybody's prediction. So what we're going to do is our predictions are now going to be up on the Bottom Bins WordPress, and all of us are going to just comment them onto an article. So you'll be able to see our predictions for the following weeks. Football, obviously there's an international break now coming up. I have an idea for an episode next week. So don't worry, there will be something coming to you next week. Once again, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate all the support. The listens have been going up steadily, and we just really appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to listen to us talk shite for an hour and 20 minutes every week. So we really, really appreciate it. As always, follow us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. It is at Bottom Bins Pod on all three of those platforms. You can find us on the Parlay Sports app, PRLY Sports, on the Apple App Store. We're going to have some content coming on up there in the next couple of weeks. Especially follow the TikTok guys, because there's a few ideas we've been floating around here that we want to get put onto the TikTok. So make sure and follow it. You'll get some funny content up there. And as always, folks, keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom bins.
Keep it bottom bins.